Alright, this is the test review for Unit 9, 7th grade. You should have your test review in front of you. If you're watching at home and you lost it, the website to get it at is CoachThomasStickyWiki.wikispaces.com. If you have it on Remind 101, you should have the text message. I'll send it out again. Alright, number 1 gives us a chart that has all the different stock values in dollars, and it wants to know what the range is. What? I know. Alright, so it wants to know the range. How do we solve for range? Highest number minus the lowest number. So what's the largest number that we have here?
43 and 3/8.
43 and 3/8. Alright. And what's the smallest? 6 and 1/8. Alright, now we have to do around the world because we don't want to mess with mixed numbers. So we need to say 43 times 8 plus 3. So 43 times 8 is 344. 344 plus 3, you get 347 over 8. All right. Minus, around the world over here, 6 times 8
48
plus 1. So we have 49 over 8. So 347 over 8 minus 349 over 8. Anyone know what 347 minus 49 is?
258. 298.
298 over 8. Now, if you look at the question, it tells us to reduce. So, let's say we have 298 over 8. Alright, I need to see, okay, 8 goes into 298. How many times does 8 go into 29?
3.
How many times does 8 go into 58?
7.
And what's left over?
2.
So you got 37 and 2/8, which is the same as 37 and 1/4. There you go. That's number 1. Probably the most difficult problem. Alright. On number 2, it says 5 students took Miss Sweeney's quiz. The mean grade was 70. If the grades for 4 students were 45, 65, 75, and 90, what was the 5th student? Alright, so when we find average, we add them all up and then divide by the total number. Well, what's the total number of students we have? 5. There's 5 total students. And we know that the average is going to be what? 70. So we need to figure out what the total number is divided by the 5 students will give me 70. Well, what number divided by 5 gives you 70? 14 divided by 5 is like 2.8. What number divided by 5 equals 70? Work it backwards. 350. So 350 divided by 5 would give us 70, right? So what that means is all 5 grades need to add up to 350. Right? If I add up the 4 that I have, you get 18. You get 275, is that right? 5, 11, 18. Pretty sure it's 275.
Yeah, it's 270.
Alright, so if I know that they should add up to 350, and right now I only have 275, how do I find that 5th missing grade?
Subtract.
Subtract. 350 minus the total of the other 4. That equals 75. So our missing grade is 75. Alright. Number 3. Amanda usually prepares her favorite enchilada dish for 4 people. The recipe originally requires 2 1/4 cups of cheese. She's expecting 10 people, so she's going to use 3 times as much cheese. How much cheese will Amanda need to make her favorite dish? Alright, so she normally does 2 1/4 cups. She needs to do 3 times that, so what are we going to do? Times 3. Again, we got mixed numbers, got to do around the world. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9, times, what's 3 as a fraction?
0.3.
That's a decimal. What's 3 as a fraction? How do you make a whole number into a fraction? Put it over 1. So 3 over 1. Now we can just multiply. Top times top, bottom times bottom. You get 27 over 4. How many times will 4 go into 27? 6 times. What's left over? What is 6 times 4? 27 minus 24 is 3 over 4. There you go. 6 and 3/4. Alright. Number 4, April and some friends went shopping for 3.25 hours. Alright. They spent half an hour eating, and they spent 1 1/4 hours at the salon. How much time did the girls spend shopping, eating, and at the salon? Alright, so we're going to be adding these up, figuring out how much time they spent. I can tell you that all your answers are going to be in fractions. So, what is 3.25 as a fraction?
3 1/4.
3 1/4.
4 3 are.
You got 1/2, and then this is already as 1 1/4. Now to add them up, we got to get rid of the mixed numbers, so do around the world. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Plus, what can I change this to make it easier? 2/4. Plus 1 times 4 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Now we just add across. 13 plus 2 is 15, plus 5 is 20. 20 over 4 is the same as saying 5. 5 is your answer. Alright. Little true or false for you. Alright. Now, I can't demonstrate this by drawing it because I'm not that good of a drawer. But if we look, we got 4 statements. We want to know if they're true or false. Alright, the first one says Paula's sales were half the amount of James's sales. What was Paula's sales? 3,000. It's 1,000. So 3,000. And James's sales were 8,000. So was Paula's half? No. So the first one would be false. The second one, Mike's sales were 3,000 more than Chris's sales. Well, Mike's was 6,000. Chris's was 4,000. Is that a 3,000 difference? Nope, so that's false. Next one, James's sales were twice as much as Chris's sales. Well, James was at 8,000. Chris was at 4,000. So that's true. The last one, Paula's sales were 2,000 less than Chris's sales. Well, Paula had 3. Chris had 4, so 4 to 3 is not 2,000, so that's false. Alright. Next, they give us a table. They want the mean, median, mode, and range. Alright, the numbers are 5, 12, 9, 11, and 15. Alright, we'll do the easy one first. Range. What's the biggest? 15 minus 5, that gives me a range of 10. What was my mode? There is no mode. Now it's not 0, it's just no. This means, this symbol here means no, or there's none. Alright. What about my median? What was my median? A lot of people pick 9 because it's sitting there in the middle, but you got to go back and forth. And finally, we have the mean. All right. First thing we got to do is add them up. 5 plus 12 is 17. Plus 9 is 26. 11 is 37. 37 plus 15. 52. 52 divided by 5 is 10.4. So the mean is 10.4. Alright. Desiree practices basketball every night. She practiced 30 minutes on Monday, 58 minutes Tuesday, 68 minutes Wednesday, 50 minutes Thursday, 76 minutes Friday. Considering the number of minutes Desiree practiced each night, what is the range of the data? Well, what's my highest number? Minus, what's my lowest number? So the range is 46. Easy. Alright, number 8. Number 8 confuses some people. Alright. Basically, there's a word problem that goes with it that I put on here, because it was a lot. But it says, Michelle has a curfew of 9 o'clock, and she wants to convince her parents to let her change it to 10. So she goes around to all her friends and figures out what their curfew is to try to make an argument. Now, she then made all the central tendencies, and it wants to know which central tendency is best to convince Michelle's parents to change her curfew to 10. So, we need to figure out the central tendencies. That is mean, median, and mode. So we'll do median and mode first. Alright, what is the mode as far as times? 9 is only on there once, so I don't think so. 9:30 is only on there once. 10:30 is the only one that repeats itself. Alright. What about the median? $10 o'clock is the median. Alright. Now, when it comes to solving for mean, we've got to change it up a little bit because you can't solve for average when you're using times. We need to change these into decimals. So, if I have 11 o'clock, that's just going to be 11. Alright? If I have 9:45, that means 9 3/4 of the way to 10. So what would that be as a decimal? 3/4. 9.75. Now I'm going ahead and line up the decimals so I can go ahead and add them. 9:30 would be 9.5. 10 is just 10. 10:30 is 10.5. Then we have 9 o'clock and 10:30 again. Oh, not 10. Alright, now that's where most people mess up on this problem, not understanding how to change the time into a decimal. Now, if I go ahead and add all these up, 5 there. That's 5 and 7 is 12, 17, 22. You have 11, 12, 21, 30. And then 7. So you have 70.25 is what they add up to. How many times overall did we have? 7. So we divide by 7. Alright, and 7 goes into 25 3 times, and it's going to go on a little bit. But we can go ahead and say that the mean is about what time? 10 o'clock. Alright, so now that we know these central tendencies based on these times, we can answer the next 2 questions. Number 8 says, which central tendency would be best for Michelle to try to convince her parents to change her curfew? I'm asking you the question on 8. Which of the central tendencies is most convincing to Michelle's parents to change her curfew to 10? Mode. Alright, it's the highest. It makes it look like everybody stays up real late. So mode. Now on number 9, it wants the other side. Which central tendency is best for her parents? Yeah, mean or median. Alright, whichever one came out lower. Now, which one came out lower? In this case, it was median, because if you remember, mean went over a little bit. Alright. Alright. So for her parents, they would pick median. Alright, number 10 and 11, both of which I can't really write anything down. But it says 24 dogs are in a kennel. 12 dogs are black, 16 dogs have long hair, and 2 dogs have black long hair with short tails. Which of the Venn diagrams above represents this data? So the first thing we're looking at is what? What's the first thing it gives us? What is it? 12 dogs are black. Well, in diagram A, how many dogs are black? Wrong. That's how many dogs are only black. You say 6 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2. That is 12. Diagram B. If you add all the numbers inside that circle, 5 and 3 is 8, plus 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So 12 dogs there. Diagram C, you have 12 dogs, plus 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16, plus 2 is 18. So C is wrong, because it's got way too many dogs in there. I'll tell you right now, a bunch of you guys will pick that one because you'll see 12. That one is incorrect. You've got to count all the numbers inside the circle. Next thing they give us is 16 dogs have long hair. So now we're just looking at diagram A and B. So on diagram A, you have 9 plus 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13, plus 2 is 15. We wanted 16, so that one's not going to work. Diagram B, 8 plus 3 is 11, plus 2 is 13, plus 3 is 16. So that one actually works. Diagram B works. So diagram B is the only one that works with the information they give us. Now if you want to check the last thing, diagram B is also the only one to have all three equal 2. So, number 13. It shows us 4 graphs. It gives us a table of percentages. And it wants us to pick the graph that fits what's in that table. Alright? So, the first thing they give us in the table is that government spending is 15%. Does graph A show that? No, graph A says 40%. That's way off. Graph B, circle chart, that's kind of hard to tell because we don't know degrees right now, so we'll come back to it. Graph C, does that show government spending at 15%? No. Does graph D show government spending at 15%? No. None of them show government spending at 15%. That leaves us with just the circle graph. Now, if we kind of look at our percentages versus what percent of that circle is filled up, it's going to match pretty close. The biggest one is 40% for productivity. If you look on graph B, productivity is a little less than half, kind of like 40%. So graph B would be the right answer there. Number 12, it wants to know which one of these representations is different from the others. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write down all the numbers for, I'm going to go with representation D because I'm better with stem and leaf plots. So I've got 15, 16, 17, and 19. Then I've got 20, 21, 21, 23, 28, and 29. And then I've got 30, 34, 34, 35, and 35. Now this is the data set from the stem and leaf plot. If we go to the next one, I want you to look at the numbers I have written down, and I'm going to read off the numbers from representation C. It says 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 21, 23, 28, 29, 30, 34, 34, 35, 35. Does that match?
Yes.
Alright, so we know that representation C and D are alike, which means one of these other two is going to be the odd man out. Alright, representation B. 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 21, 23, 28, 29, 30, 34, 34, 35, 35. Okay, it matches. So that leaves us with representation A. Well, looking at representation A, what's the big problem?
It jumps all over the place.
It does jump all over the place, but what's the even bigger problem?
It doesn't have numbers.
There's no numbers on it. How am I supposed to write down numbers if there's no numbers on the graph? If you can't, obviously that one doesn't fit in with the rest of them. So representation A would be the incorrect, or would be the different one. Alright, 13. Leanne is considering working at the Silva Company and has discovered that 9 current employees each have a salary of $35,000 a year And the one supervisor has a salary of $150,000 a year. What measure of central tendency would most likely describe, or would most accurately describe, a typical salary of a person? Well, you've got mean, median, mode. Which one do you think is the worst at predicting your salary when you work there?
Median.
Median? Well, what do you? How much do you think you'd get paid if you went and worked there?
Probably 35.
And why do you say that?
That's how many, that's what
Most
most people
people get 35,000. What's the key word out of that? Most. What does that make you think of? Mode. Just by this, there's not any math on this one, but just by thinking, all right. Well, if I go there, I'm probably going to get 35,000 because most of the people working there get 35,000. Most refers to mode. All right. You wouldn't say I'm going to get paid $35,000 because the guy who got paid in the middle was $35,000. And you can't pick mean because that one supervisor makes so much money that it's going to mess with all your numbers, right? So, on number 13, mode would be the best way to solve it, or the best way to guess your income. Number 14, it wants to calculate the mean of the circumference and the weights. So we've got to add all these up. We've got 9.25. We've got... Can't read it on else paper.
It looks like a half.
It looks like 10.
Wait, yeah, it's 2.
I think it is 10, but I'm gonna check. And it's 30. So I'm glad I checked. Y'all might want to write that in there so y'all can make sure y'all know what it is. And you got 8.25, 26, and 28. These are all the circumferences. If I add them together, 2, 3, 31, 6. Get 101.5 divided by what? How many numbers are there? That's 2, 0, 3. 20.3 would be your mean for the circumference. For weight, you have 5.25, 22, 2, 9.25, and 16. Again, add them up. You get 54.5 divided by 5 is 10.9. Easy enough. Number 15. We're not going to go over. Number 15 is a bonus question. Alright, it'll be worth extra credit. So if you can figure out how to do it between now and end of spring break, you can get yourself some bonus questions. I'll tell you right now, the numbers aren't going to change on it. So if you can figure out how to solve it, you'll be good. Alright, but that's the whole review.